how the body works. The skeleton has 206 bones. It supports the body and gives it shape. It protects internal organs, and bones help to make blood. At the end of the bones are joints, and these give the body the movement required to take part in sport. There are 3 types of joint. First, there's the fixed or immovable joint, for example, between plates in the skull. Next, there are slightly movable joints, an example being between vertebrae. Finally, there are freely movable joints, like the knee or shoulder.
The joints that move most freely are the knee, elbow, ankle, hip and shoulder. They're called the synovial joints because they're surrounded by a capsule filled with fluid called synovial fluid. This fluid acts as a protection to stop the ends of the bones rubbing together. When we start to exercise, the fluid surrounding our joints is quite thick. It's a bit like the oil in the engine of a car. When it first starts, it's quite thick and sludgy and it doesn't run very well. But as it starts to warm up, it thins out and runs over the parts of the engine much more easily.
There are 6 different types of synovial joint: ball and socket, hinge, gliding, pivot, saddle and condyloid. The vertebral column, also called the backbone or spine, supports the body and helps us to stand up. The vertebral column houses the motorway of our nervous system, the spinal cord. It's made up of 33 bones called vertebrae. These can be divided into 5 regions. At the top is the cervical region that forms the neck. This contains 7 vertebrae that are the smallest in the spine. Then the thoracic region contains 12 vertebrae that attach to the ribs. The lumbar region forms the gap between the rib cage and the pelvis. It contains 5 vertebrae that are the strongest in the spine. The sacrum is made up of 5 fused vertebrae and forms the back of the pelvis. Finally, the coccyx at the base of the backbone has 4. In between the vertebrae are discs of small cartilage. These act as shock absorbers between bones, preventing damage. If any move out of position, it's called a slipped disc, and it can be very painful. All activity requires movement. The body wouldn't move an inch without the help of muscles. There are 3 different types. Involuntary muscles work without you having to think about it. These can be found inside the body, for instance in the stomach. Voluntary muscles are attached to the bones. They work when you want them to, for example when you walk or lift something. Cardiac muscle makes up the walls of the heart. It works continuously throughout life. Make sure that you know what the main voluntary muscles are in the body. For example, the biceps, quadriceps and hamstrings. For this, you can use the detailed diagrams on the PE website. So, how do muscles work? Muscles make the body move by shortening or contracting. Every voluntary muscle contains bundles of muscle fibre and nerves that communicate with the brain. When the brain wants a limb to move, it sends a signal down the nerve and tells the fibres to shorten and the muscle to contract. When the brain stops sending those signals, the muscle relaxes. Muscles usually work in pairs, for example, the biceps and triceps in the upper arm. They usually work across joints and are attached to bone by tendons. Here, one end of the muscle is attached to a fixed bone, the other end to a movable one. The movable bone is pulled as the muscle contracts. Every muscle contains a combination of fast and slow twitch fibres. Fast twitch fibres produce fast and powerful contractions that tire quickly. They're good for sports that require an immediate burst of power, for instance weightlifting, shot putting or sprinting. Slow twitch fibres contract slowly, produce less power, but don't tire as quickly. These are good for endurance sports, like cross-country running. The heart pumps blood around the body. In fact, it's a double pump. The right side pumps blood to the lungs for oxygen, and the left side then pumps oxygenated blood onto the rest of the body. This is the circulatory system.
Embedded in the chest, between the lungs and pointing slightly to the left, the heart beats. It beats to pump blood to the lungs to pick up oxygen and then on around the body. And this is how it works. Blood that is low in oxygen reaches the heart via the vena cava and enters the right atrium. This is the wall of the atrium. The right atrium pumps the blood through the tricuspid valve into the right ventricle. The ventricle pumps the blood through the pulmonary valve into the pulmonary artery. This carries the blood to the lungs.
For more detail and an animation that shows this very clearly, take a look at the Bitesize PE website at www.bbc.co.uk/revision. The respiratory system provides the body with oxygen and clears it of poisonous carbon dioxide. First, oxygen is breathed in at the nose and mouth. It then travels through the trachea, or the windpipe, to the lungs.
In the lungs, the blood absorbs oxygen as it passes through capillaries, the very small blood vessels lining the air sacs. The well-oxygenated blood that comes back through the pulmonary vein goes into the left atrium. And then from the left atrium through the mitral valve into the left ventricle. The left ventricle has the thickest and most muscular walls. It pushes blood all around the body. It's the most powerful part of the pump. On the left of the screen, you can see the mitral valve, and on the right, the aortic valve. The blood is pumped through the aorta and around the body. The cycle is completed when the blood arrives back in the right atrium of the heart through the vena cava.
In the lungs, oxygen passes through small air sacs called the alveoli. The outer walls of the alveoli are so thin that oxygen can pass right through them to small blood vessels called capillaries. The blood passing through these then carry the oxygen via the heart to the rest of the body. To get rid of carbon dioxide, the respiratory system carries out this process, but in reverse. Now let's try a couple of questions. Question 1. Illustrated are two body systems. Can you name them? What is the main organ in each? And can you name two more body systems? And question 2. Describe two functions of the vertebral column and then name the 5 regions of the spine. Pause the tape and jot down your answers. Then when you're ready, start the tape again to see how you've done. Okay, let's see how you've done. The answers to question 1 are: the two systems shown are the respiratory system and the circulatory system. The main organs here are the lungs and the heart. You could have chosen any two of the following systems: the skeletal, hormonal, nervous, muscular, digestive, and excretory systems. Now the answers for question 2. Two functions of the vertebral column are to help the body stand up and to house and protect the spinal cord. The 5 regions of the spine or vertebral column are cervical, thoracic, lumbar, sacrum, and coccyx. Here are the key points you should know about the body for your written exam. Remember the names for the main bones of the skeleton, the different types of synovial joints, the 5 regions of the vertebral column. Remember the 3 different types of muscle: involuntary, voluntary, and cardiac. Remember how muscles work by contracting, and how fast and slow twitch muscle fibers can affect performance. You should know how the heart works and how the circulatory system transports blood and other substances around the body. Finally, remember how the respiratory system works, how oxygen gets to the muscles, and how it gets rid of carbon dioxide.
When you're playing sport, it's important to think about the way your body's affected. For example, your heart, your lungs and your breathing and your muscles. Remembering about how your body feels will help you when you come to write about these systems in the exam.
More details about the body can be found on the GCSE Bitesize PE website. If you want to check it out, then get online at www.bbc.co.uk/revision.